The stars were dying around them. Elder diplomat Zethka stood at the observation deck of the last Velkari ship, watching his homeworld burn in the distance. Orange flames covered the surface where green forests once grew. The beautiful crystal cities that took centuries to build were now nothing but melted glass. Behind him, the final survivors of his people crowded into the small refugee vessel. Mothers held their children close while fathers tried to hide their fear. The Velkari had always been a peaceful race. They grew food, built beautiful things, and studied the stars. They never hurt anyone. But that did not matter to the Hive. The Hive Mind Collective had come 3 months ago. Their bioships appeared in the sky like giant insects, black and terrible. They did not want to talk or trade. They only wanted to consume. Every living thing they touched became part of their growing army. Every world they visited became empty and dead. Zethka had tried everything. He sent messages to the Galactic Council, begging for help. He offered them all the knowledge his people had gathered over thousands of years. He promised them anything they wanted. But the Council ships turned away. They said the hive mind was too strong. They said the Velkari worlds were not important enough to risk a war. Now only one choice remained. Communication Officer Nelthara approached him carefully. Her blue skin had turned pale with exhaustion. Like all Velkari, she was tall and thin, with large eyes that showed every emotion. Right now, those eyes were full of sadness. "Elder," she said quietly, "the last evacuation ship has left the surface. We saved 12,000 people, but there were millions down there." Zethka closed his eyes. 12,000 out of 40 million. It was not enough. It would never be enough. "The Council ships?" he asked. "Gone." Admiral Thys Minor sent one final message. He said we should surrender to the hive mind. He said it would be quicker that way. Anger filled Zethka's heart, but he pushed it down. Anger would not save his people now. Only desperate action might work. "Nelthara," he said, "I need you to prepare a broadcast. Not to the Council, to everyone. Every species in the galaxy." Nelthara looked confused. "Elder, we have already tried the major civilizations. They all refuse to help. Then, we try the minor ones, the forgotten ones, the dangerous ones." Zethka turned from the window. "Send our distress call everywhere, every frequency, every channel. Someone out there might listen." Nelthara hesitated. "Elder, if we broadcast openly like that, the hive mind will track our signal. They will find us. They will find us anyway," Zethka replied. "At least this way we die trying." 2 hours later, the message was ready. Zethka stood in the small communication chamber looking at the recording device. He had written these words many times in his head. Now he had to speak them. "This is Elder Diplomat Zethka of the Velkari Republic," he began. "My people are dying. The Hive Mind Collective has destroyed our worlds and consumed our population. We are peaceful people. We have never hurt anyone. We ask for help from any species that can hear this message. We offer all our knowledge, all our resources, anything we have, to anyone who will protect the survivors of our race." He paused, thinking of his grandchildren who were somewhere among the refugees. "We do not ask you to die for us. We only ask that you remember we existed. We ask that you do not let the hive mind erase us completely from history." The message went out across the galaxy on every known frequency. It traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching the major civilizations first. The Altarian Republic received it and deleted it immediately. The Council had already decided. The Thanari Empire heard it but were too busy fighting their own wars. The Crystalline Federation listened and felt sorry, but they were too far away to help. The Rio signal kept traveling, reaching smaller civilizations in the outer systems. Most ignored it. Some sent messages of sympathy but no ships. A few tried to send help, but their forces were too small to fight the hive mind. Days passed. More Velkari died. The hive mind ships continued their terrible work, turning the beautiful homeworld into a lifeless rock. Zethka watched the survivor count drop from 12,000 to 11,000 to 10,000. Disease and despair were killing them faster than the hive mind now. Then from the very edge of the galaxy, an answer came. The signal was different from the others. It was strong and clear, transmitted on military frequencies. The voice that spoke was rough and determined, speaking a language the translation computers had trouble understanding at first. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force," the voice said. "We received your distress call. Help is coming. Stay alive. We are on our way." Nelthara ran to find Zethka. "Elder, we got a response. Someone is coming." Zethka felt hope for the first time in months. "Who? What species?" Nelthara checked her computer. "They call themselves humans. I have never heard of them. The computer says they are from a world called Earth. It is listed as a death world." Zethka's hope faltered. Deathworlders were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They came from planets so hostile that they turned living things into killing machines. Most civilizations avoided them completely. "Maybe they want to help us," Nelthara suggested hopefully. "Or maybe they want to claim our territory for themselves," Zethka replied. "But what choice do we have? The hive mind will kill us all anyway." He looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, ships were coming. Whether they brought salvation or just a different kind of death, he did not know. But for the first time since the invasion began, the Velkari had something they had almost forgotten. They had hope. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center of Terra Station, reading the alien message for the 10th time. Around him, officers moved quickly between computer stations, preparing for war. The huge screens on the walls showed star maps and ship positions as Earth's military machine came to life. "Sir," Captain Ben Rodriguez said, approaching with a data pad, "the fleet is almost ready. 12 ships, full combat load. We can leave in 6 hours." Jake nodded. 6 hours to travel halfway across the galaxy to help people they had never met. It seemed impossible, but humans had done impossible things before. Dr. Amy Carter walked over from the translation station. She was a small woman with tired eyes, but her mind was sharper than any computer. She had been working for 3 days straight to understand the alien language. "Admiral," she said, "I have learned more about these Velkari people. They are farmers and builders. Their whole civilization is based on growing things and making beautiful art. They have never fought a war in their recorded history. And this hive mind?" Jake asked. Amy's face darkened. "A nightmare. They consume other species and turn them into weapons. 17 civilizations have fallen to them in the last 50 years. The Galactic Council considers them unstoppable." Captain Lisa Hayes joined the group. She commanded the UES Thunderbolt, one of Earth's newest warships. Like most human military officers, she was tough and direct. "The crew is asking questions, Admiral," she said. "They want to know why we are risking everything for aliens we have never seen." Jake looked at the message on his screen again. The desperate voice of Elder Zeth-Ka echoed in his memory. "Because they asked for help, Captain. And we do not leave. People to die when we can save them." Lisa smiled. "Good enough for me, sir. My crew feels the same way." The preparation continued through the night. In the shipyards above Earth, engineers worked frantically to load weapons and supplies. The UES Valiant took on extra medical equipment. The UES Defender filled its cargo holds with marine drop pods. Every ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Commander Ryan Clark supervised the marine loading on the Defender. He was a big man with scars on his hands from a dozen battles. His soldiers trusted him because he never asked them to do anything he would not do himself. "Listen up," he called to his troops. "We are going to fight something called the hive mind. Intelligence says they turn people into monsters. So we shoot first and ask questions later. But remember, we are there to save civilians. The Velkari people are counting on us." Sergeant Tony Martinez raised his hand. "Sir, what if the aliens do not want our help? What if they think we are invaders?" Ryan thought about it. "Then we prove them wrong, Martinez. We show them what humans really are." While the military prepared, Dr. Amy Carter continued studying the alien signals. She worked with a team of linguists and scientists, trying to understand everything they could about both the Velkari and the hive mind. The Velkari communicate in musical tones, she explained to Admiral Morrison. Their language is based on harmony and cooperation. The hive mind is the opposite. They use chemical signals and neural networks. They think as one mind, not as individuals. How do we fight something like that? Jake asked. With chaos, Amy replied. The hive mind expects predictable responses. They have learned to counter every defensive strategy the galaxy uses. But humans do not fight defensively. Jake smiled, grimly. That was true. Humans had learned to fight on a world that tried to kill them every day. They attacked problems head-on instead of running away. The fleet launched exactly 6 hours after the order was given. 12 ships jumped into hyperspace, heading for the Velkari system. Each ship carried the best weapons humanity could build and crews trained for war, but they were not alone in space. 2 days into the journey, sensors detected other ships nearby. Captain Hayes called Admiral Morrison from the Thunderbolt's bridge. Sir, we have company. Looks like a Galactic Council patrol. 6 ships, Altarian design. Jake switched to the main communication channel. This is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. Identify yourselves. A new voice answered, speaking perfect Earth English but with a strange accent. This is Admiral This Minor of the Altarian Republic. You are entering a restricted zone, humans. Turn back immediately. Negative, Jake replied. We are responding to a distress call. The Velkari situation has been classified as hopeless. The Galactic Council has withdrawn all support. Your intervention is both illegal and suicidal. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. These aliens had abandoned innocent people to die, and now they wanted to stop the rescue. Admiral Thys Minor, he said slowly. We received a call for help from dying people. We are going to answer that call. You can help us or you can get out of our way, but you will not stop us. There was a long pause. Then the alien admiral spoke again, and this time his voice was confused. I do not understand your species, human. The hive mind has consumed 17 civilizations. They will consume you as, well, why do you choose to die for strangers? Captain Hayes answered before Jake could speak. Because somebody has to, she said simply. Because it is the right thing to do. Another pause. You are truly insane, the alien admiral said. Your species is exactly as dangerous as the reports claimed. We are dangerous to people who hurt the innocent, Jake replied. Are you going to stop us, Admiral? No, came the reply. I have seen what the hive mind does to prisoners. If you wish to throw your lives away, that is your choice. But do not expect rescue when you fail. The council ships moved away, leaving the human fleet alone. Jake watched them go on the tactical display. Amy, he called to Dr. Carter. Send a message to the Velkari. Tell them we are coming. Tell them to hold on a little longer. Amy nodded and began working at her station. The message went out across space at light speed, racing ahead of the fleet. On the refugee ship, Elder Zethka received the transmission. For the first time in weeks, he smiled. Nel Thara, he called. Tell our people. The humans are coming. We just have to survive until they get here. Nel Thara looked at the tactical display showing hive mind ships surrounding their world. How long until they arrive? 2 days, Zethka replied. They both looked at the display again. The hive mind was launching its final attack. Millions of bioorganisms were descending on the planet's surface. We just have to hold on for 2 more days, Zethka whispered. In space, the human fleet raced through hyperspace. In the cargo holds, Marines checked their weapons. On the bridges, captains studied battle plans. Everyone knew they were flying toward almost certain death, but not one of them considered turning back. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace into hell. Admiral Jake Morrison watched the tactical display with grim determination. The Velkari homeworld was completely surrounded by hive mind bioships. The massive alien vessels looked like giant insects made of black metal and living tissue. Smaller hunter organisms swarmed through the atmosphere like deadly clouds. My God, whispered Captain Ben Rodriguez from the UES Valiant. There are so many of them. Jake counted at least 50 major bioships and thousands of smaller creatures. The planet's surface glowed with fires where cities used to stand. Streams of light showed hive mind harvesters pulling civilians up from the ground. "All ships," Jake commanded. "Battle formation. We are going in." Captain Lisa Hayes spoke from the Thunderbolt. "Sir, the odds are terrible. We are outnumbered 20-1. "Then we better make every shot count," Jake replied. "Dr. Carter, can you reach the Valkyrie survivors?" Amy Carter worked frantically at her communication station. "I am getting a weak signal from one of their refugee ships. They are hiding behind the planet's moon." "Tell them help has arrived," Jake ordered. "All ships attack pattern Alpha. Hit them hard and fast." The 12 human ships charged into the swarm of bioorganisms. The UES Thunderbolt fired first, sending plasma bolts into the nearest hive mind ship. The alien vessel shuddered and began to leak strange fluids, but it did not die. "Armor is thicker than expected," Captain Hayes reported. Switching to armor-piercing rounds, the battle erupted across space. Human ships moved in ways the hive mind had never seen before. Instead of forming defensive lines like other species, they attacked from all directions at once. They used asteroids for cover and coordinated their fire in complex patterns. The hive mind tried to respond, but their bio-neural network was confused. They had learned to fight predictable enemies who followed standard tactics. Humans followed no rules except winning. Commander Ryan Clark watched the space battle from the marine deck of the UES Defender. His soldiers were strapped into drop pods ready for surface insertion. They wore full combat armor and carried enough weapons to level a city block. "Listen up, Marines," Ryan shouted over the noise of battle. "Sensors show civilian population still alive on the surface. Our job is to get them out while the fleet keeps the big bugs busy." Sergeant Tony Martinez checked his rifle one more time. "Sir, what if the aliens are scared of us? We look pretty different from them." "Then we prove we are the good guys," Ryan replied. "Remember your training. Protect the innocent, defeat the enemy, and bring everyone home." The first wave of drop pods launched toward the planet's surface. They cut through the atmosphere like falling stars, dodging hive mind flyers and landing in the ruins of a Valkyrie city. Tony Martinez kicked open his pod door and stepped into an alien world. The gravity was lighter than Earth, making him feel like he could jump over buildings. The air smelled of flowers and smoke. Around him, crystal spires lay broken and burning. "Movement 2 o'clock, called Corporal Kate Williams, pointing toward a collapsed building. Tony raised his rifle, then stopped. A group of tall, thin aliens was hiding in the rubble. Their blue skin was covered with dust, and their large eyes were wide with fear. 3 small children clung to what looked like their mother. "Friendly aliens," Tony called to his squad. "Approach slowly." The Valkyrie family saw the humans coming and tried to run, but the mother was injured. She fell, pulling her children down with her. The little ones started making musical sounds that Tony realized must be crying. Tony set down his rifle and approached, with his hands empty. "Hey there," he said gently. "We are here to help." The mother looked up at him with terror. Tony was twice her size and covered in military armor. To her, he probably looked like a monster, but then a hive mind drone appeared around the corner. It was the size of a car, with claws like swords and teeth that dripped acid. It saw the Valkyrie family and screeched with hunger. Tony grabbed his rifle and put himself between the alien family and the drone. His shots tore through the creature's armor, dropping it in seconds. He turned back to the Valkyrie and saw that their fear had changed to amazement. "Kate, get the medical kit," Tony called. "This lady is hurt." Kate Williams knelt beside the injured Valkyrie mother. The woman's leg was broken, but Kate's training covered alien physiology. She carefully applied a medical brace while Tony kept watch for more drones. "Tony," came a voice over the radio. "This is Rodriguez. We have found a large group of survivors, 6 blocks north of your position. But they are trapped in an underground shelter with hive mind forces digging down toward them." "On our way, Captain," Tony replied. He looked at the Valkyrie mother and pointed toward the evacuation zone his squad had set up. "Safe," he said. using one of the few Velkari words Dr. Carter had taught them. Safe place. The woman looked at him for a long moment. Then she made a musical sound that seemed like gratitude. She gathered her children and began moving toward the evacuation point. 6 blocks away, Captain Rodriguez and his team found themselves in the middle of a rescue operation unlike anything they had trained for. The Velkari survivors were hiding in a complex underground facility that had been designed as an art gallery. Beautiful sculptures and paintings filled the halls, while nearly 200 aliens huddled together in fear. Dr. Carter, Rodriguez, called over the radio, "I need you to translate. These people do not understand what we are trying to do." Amy's voice came through clearly. "I have learned more of their language, Captain. Tell them you are friends from Earth. Use the word protectors, if you can. Their language has a strong concept for that." Rodriguez tried his best to speak Velkari words. His pronunciation was terrible, but the meaning got through. The aliens started making excited musical sounds and pointing toward the ceiling, where hive-mind creatures were digging through the rock. "We need to move them now," called Sergeant Martinez over the tactical network. "I count at least 12 drones coming through the roof." The evacuation became a running battle. Human Marines formed protective circles around groups of Velkari, civilians while fighting off waves of hive-mind creatures. The aliens were amazed to see soldiers willing to die to protect strangers. Elder Zethka watched the rescue from the refugee ship orbiting the moon. The tactical display showed impossible things. Human ships were actually winning fights against hive-mind vessels. Human soldiers were saving Velkari civilians while taking terrible risks. "Nelthara," he said quietly, "are you recording this?" "Yes, Elder," she replied. "But I do not understand. These humans are supposed to be dangerous Deathworlders. Why are they dying to save us?" Zethka watched a human marine carry 3 Velkari children to safety, while under fire from multiple drones. "I think," he said slowly, "we have been wrong about what makes someone dangerous." On the planet's surface, the battle continued. More human ships arrived to support the evacuation. The UES Defender landed in a clear area and opened its cargo bays to receive refugees. Velkari families ran up the loading ramps while human soldiers held defensive positions around the ship. Commander Clark stood at the top of the ramp, helping civilians aboard. A young Velkari approached him cautiously. The alien was barely more than a child with bright blue skin and curious eyes. "Why?" the young alien asked in broken English. "Why help us?" Ryan looked down at the child and thought about his own daughter back on Earth. "Because you need help," he said simply, "and because it is right." The child stared at him for a moment, then made a musical sound that Ryan somehow knew meant, "Thank you." In space above them, Admiral Morrison coordinated the fleet's attack on the Hive-Mind command ships. The battle was far from over, but something had changed. For the first time in the war, the Hive-Mind was retreating instead of advancing. "All ships," Jake broadcast, "continue the attack. We have them on the run." But deep in his heart, he knew the real victory was happening on the planet's surface. Every Velkari life saved was worth more than any military conquest. The rescue had begun, and nothing would stop the humans from finishing it. Something wonderful and terrible was happening to the Velkari people. For the first time in their history, they were learning to fight. Elder Zethka stood on the bridge of a human warship, watching his people work alongside human engineers. The UES Thunderbolt had become a joint command center where 2 completely different species planned war together. "Elder," said Constructor Vex Larn, approaching with excitement in her large eyes, "the human weapons can be fitted to our ships. Captain, Hayes showed us how to modify our power systems." Zethka looked at the technical displays with amazement. In just 2 days, the humans had taught his people things that seemed impossible. Velkari ships were designed for exploration and farming, not fighting. But human engineering was making them into something new. Captain Lisa Hayes walked over from the tactical station. Her uniform was dirty with alien engine oil, and she had been working without sleep for 36 hours. But her eyes were bright with determination. "Elder, your people learn fast," she said with admiration. Constructor Vexlarn figured out our plasma systems in half the time it took our own engineers. Vexlarn made a musical sound of embarrassment. Human technology is so direct. You build things to work, not to be beautiful. It is very practical. Sometimes practical is better than beautiful, Lisa replied, especially when you are trying to save lives. The alliance had begun by accident. During the evacuation, Velkari technician Nelthara had helped human marines repair a damaged dropship. Her knowledge of energy systems combined with human weapons technology created something neither species could build alone. Now, 3 days into the battle, that cooperation had spread throughout both fleets. Velkari precision and human aggression were proving to be a deadly combination against the hive mind. On the planet's surface, the rescue operations continued. Commander Ryan Clark worked with Velkari security coordinator Jen Thoss to establish safe zones for the remaining civilians. The alien had never held a weapon before the humans arrived, but now he carried a modified human rifle and knew how to use it. "Commander," Jen Thoss said in his careful English, "my scouts report a large hive mind nest in the crystal caves. At least 500 of our people are trapped inside." Ryan studied the tactical map on his portable computer. The caves were deep underground, with narrow passages that would make fighting difficult. It was exactly the kind of place where human close combat training would be most useful. "We can take them," Ryan decided, "but I will need your people to guide us. Those caves are like a maze." Jen Thoss hesitated. "Commander, my people are not warriors. We might slow you down or get in your way." Ryan looked at the alien with respect. "Jen, your people have been fighting beside us for 3 days. You have earned the right to help save your own families. We do this together." The assault on the crystal caves began before dawn. Human marines and Velkari volunteers moved through the tunnels in mixed teams. The aliens proved surprisingly good at stealth and coordination, while the humans provided firepower and tactical leadership. Sergeant Tony Martinez led one of the rescue teams deeper into the cave system. Beside him, a young Velkari named Kelnara carried a modified plasma rifle and moved with the grace of someone who had grown up in low gravity. "Contact ahead," Tony whispered into his radio. "Looks like a hive mind nursery. Lots of small drones." Kelnara pointed to a side passage. "There is another way," she said quietly. "We can circle around and attack from behind." Tony smiled. The Velkari were natural tacticians once they learned to think aggressively. "Good plan. Take point." They moved through the crystal formations like ghosts. The hive mind drones never saw them coming. When the attack began, it was over in seconds. The human Velkari teams were learning to fight with a coordination that confused the bio-neural network. Meanwhile, in space, Admiral Morrison was discovering something that would change the war forever. "Dr. Carter," he called from the command center of Terra Station, "have you analyzed the hive mind communication patterns?" Amy looked up from her computer with excitement. "Yes, Admiral. And I found something incredible. The hive mind is not actually one mind. It is a network controlled by a central node, like a computer with a main processor." Jake felt his heart racing. "Can we find this central node?" "I think so," Amy replied. "The communication signals all trace back to one location in the asteroid belt. If we could destroy that node, the entire network in this system would collapse." Jake called Captain Hayes immediately. "Lisa, I need you to prepare for a special mission. We have found the hive mind's brain." "Understood, Admiral," Lisa replied. "What kind of mission are we talking about?" "The kind where we might not come back," Jake said honestly. There was a pause. "Sir, request permission to volunteer for the mission." "Granted," Jake replied, "but we are going to try something different first." The plan that emerged was completely insane and completely human. Instead of a direct assault on the central node, they would turn the asteroid belt itself into a weapon. Constructor Vex Larn had suggested using Velkari terraforming technology to destabilize the asteroids and create a chain reaction. "It has never been tried on this scale," Vex Larn admitted as she worked with human engineers to modify the terraforming equipment. We use this technology to move soil and water, not to destroy things. Everything can be a weapon if you use it right, replied Chief Engineer Bob Peters from the UES Valiant. Your people just never thought of it that way. The combined human-Velkari team worked frantically to prepare the assault. They had to coordinate the attack perfectly. If they failed, the hive mind would adapt and become even stronger. Elder Zethka watched the preparations with wonder and sadness. His people were changing, becoming something they had never been before. They were becoming warriors, but they were also becoming something more important. They were becoming allies. Nelthara, he said to his communication officer, send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them what we have learned here. What should I tell them, Elder? Zethka looked at the mixed crews working together throughout the ship. Humans and Velkari shared tools, ideas, and hope. They had created something stronger than either species alone. Tell them, he said slowly, that we have found something more powerful than any weapon. We have found friendship with the humans, and together, we are going to win this war. The message went out across the galaxy as the assault teams prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. In a few hours, they would either destroy the hive mind forever or die trying, but they would do it together. On the planet's surface, Sergeant Martinez helped the last group of Velkari civilians board the evacuation. Ships, the young alien Kelnara approached him with something in her hands. Sergeant, she said carefully, this is for you. She handed him a small crystal sculpture that seemed to glow with inner light. It showed two figures standing together, one human and one Velkari, facing the stars. It means protectors, she explained, but not just one protecting the other, both protecting together. Tony looked at the beautiful artwork and felt tears in his eyes. Thank you, he said simply. As the ships prepared to launch their final assault, both species knew that whatever happened next, they had already won something important. They had found each other, and they would never be alone again. The asteroid belt erupted in light and fire. Admiral Jake Morrison watched from the command deck of the UES Thunderbolt as constructor Vex Larn's terraforming weapons tore through the space rocks like they were made of paper. The massive asteroids broke apart in perfect sequence, creating a chain reaction that spread across the entire belt. Target acquired, called Captain Lisa Hayes from her ship's weapon station. The central node is in the largest asteroid, just like Dr. Carter predicted. Jake felt his heart pounding. Everything depended on the next few minutes. If they failed, the hive mind would learn from their attack and become even stronger. All ships, he commanded, coordinated strike on my mark. Remember, we only get one chance at this. The combined human Velkari fleet moved into position. 12 human warships and 8 converted Velkari vessels aimed their weapons at the hidden hive mind control center. It was the largest military operation either species had ever attempted together. Elder Zethka, Jake called to the Velkari leader. Your people ready? Ready, Admiral, came the reply from the Velkari command ship. Constructor Vex Larn reports all terraforming charges are in position. Dr. Amy Carter looked up from her communication station with excitement. Admiral, I am detecting massive confusion in the hive mind network. They do not understand what we are doing. Their bioneural system cannot adapt fast enough. That is, because they have never fought humans and Velkari working together, Jake replied with a grim smile. Fire all weapons! The space around the asteroid belt turned into a light show of destruction. Human plasma cannons and Velkari energy beams struck the central asteroid from every direction. The terraforming charges detonated in perfect sequence, turning solid rock into expanding clouds of superheated gas. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the hive mind bioships throughout the system began to shudder and drift. The smaller creatures fell from the sky like dead leaves. The terrible unity that had made them so dangerous simply stopped working. Central node destroyed, Amy reported with tears of joy in her eyes. The bioneural network is collapsing. They are just animals now, not a collective intelligence. On the planet's surface, Commander Ryan Clark watched hive mind drones suddenly stop moving and fall over. The creatures that had been coordinated killing machines moments before now wandered around confused and harmless. All Marine units, he called over the radio. "The enemy is neutralized. Begin final evacuation procedures." Sergeant Tony Martinez stood in the ruins of a Velcari city, surrounded by alien civilians who were crying tears of joy. The young Velcari warrior Kelnara approached him with something that might have been a smile on her alien features. "Is it over?" she asked hopefully. "It is over," Tony confirmed. "Your people are safe now." The victory celebration lasted for days, but Admiral Morrison was already thinking about the future. The hive mind was defeated in this system, but there were other threats in the galaxy, and now he had seen what humans and Velcari could accomplish together. "Elder Zethka," he said during a meeting on the Velcari command ship, "my government wants to offer your people a formal alliance, not as subjects or refugees, but as equal partners." The elderly Velcari leader looked around the room at the mixed crews of humans and aliens working together. "Admiral, my people have learned much from yours. We have learned that strength comes not from avoiding conflict, but from protecting those who cannot protect themselves. And we have learned from your people too," Jake replied. "Your precision and intelligence make our weapons twice as effective. Your terraforming technology opens up possibilities we never imagined." Constructor Vex Larn entered the room carrying a datapad full of technical specifications. "Admiral, if I may interrupt, my engineering teams have been working with your people on some new designs. We think we can build ships that are better than anything either of our species has created alone." Jake looked at the designs with amazement. The new ships combined human durability and firepower with Velcari energy efficiency and advanced materials. They would be faster, stronger, and more versatile than anything in the galaxy. "How long to build a prototype?" he asked. 6 months, Vex Larn replied. "But Admiral, there is something else. We have been monitoring galactic communications. Word of our victory is spreading. Other species are asking questions about humans." Dr. Amy Carter had been listening from her translation station. "Admiral, I have been receiving messages from across the galaxy. 3 different species have sent distress calls specifically asking for human help." Jake felt a familiar stirring in his chest. More people needed protection. More innocent lives were in danger. "What species?" he asked. Amy checked her computer. "The methane breathers of Titan 7 are being invaded by the Iron Legion. The crystal farmers of Zephyr Prime are facing extinction from a plague. And the deep ocean people of Aqua Luna are being hunted by something they call the Void Swimmers." 3 different crises, Jake mused. "We cannot be everywhere at once." Elder Zethka stood up slowly. "Admiral, perhaps you do not have to be. The Velcari have learned much about fighting and protecting others. We could take one of these missions ourselves." Jake looked at the alien leader with surprise and respect. A month ago, the Velcari had been helpless victims. Now they were offering to risk themselves to save strangers. "Elder, are you sure your people are ready for that?" "Admiral," Zethka replied with dignity, "you taught us that true strength comes from protecting others. We want to honor that lesson." 6 months later, the first joint human Velcari patrol fleet launched from Earth orbit. The UES Guardian and the Velcari ship Harmony's Edge moved through space together, heading for the Titan 7 system to face the Iron Legion. Captain Lisa Hayes, now promoted to Admiral, commanded the mission from the Guardian's bridge. Beside her, Constructor Vex Larn served as the fleet's chief engineer. The crew was half human and half Velcari, working together like they had been born to it. "Admiral Hayes," called Communication Officer Nell Thera, "we are receiving a transmission from the methane breathers. They are asking if we are really coming to help them." Lisa smiled as she remembered the first time the humans had received a distress call from the Velcari. "Tell them yes. Tell them the protectors are on their way." Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison stood in the same command center where he had first heard the Velcari distress call. But now the screens showed a very different galaxy. Human Velcari joint patrols were active in 6 different systems. The alliance had grown to include 4 other species who had asked to join the protection network. Dr. Amy Carter approached with a new message. "Admiral, we just received another distress call. This one is from the edge of the galaxy. Something, called the Devourer Fleet, is attacking the peaceful builders of Haven 9. Jake felt the familiar call to action. "Prep the fleet, Amy. Time to go to work." Sir, Amy said with a smile. This time we received the call specifically because we are human. The message says, please send the famous human protectors who saved the Valkyrie. Jake laughed. A year ago, the galaxy had feared humans as dangerous Deathworlders. Now they called for human help when they needed protection. It was exactly what humanity had always been meant to be. On the Valkyrie homeworld, now green and growing again thanks to human terraforming help, children played in parks that had been battlefields. They played games where some of them pretended to be human marines and others pretended to be Valkyrie warriors, working together to defeat imaginary monsters. Elder Zeth Ka, now older but happier than he had ever been, watched the children play. Beside him stood Sergeant Tony Martinez, now Lieutenant Colonel Martinez, who had stayed on the Valkyrie world to help train their new defense forces. Colonel, Zeth Ka said quietly, do you ever regret answering our call for help? Tony looked at the peaceful scene before them. Alien children laughed and played while their parents worked to rebuild their civilization. Human and Valkyrie scientists collaborated in laboratories. Artists from both species created beautiful things together. Elder, Tony replied, this is why we exist. This is what humans are for. We protect the innocent, we help the helpless, and we make sure that good people can live in peace. Zeth Ka made a musical sound of agreement. The galaxy is learning that the most dangerous species can also be the most gentle. In the distance, another joint patrol ship lifted off from the spaceport, heading out to answer another call for help. The legacy of protection continued, spreading across the stars one rescue at a time. The Valkyrie had been saved, but more importantly, they had learned to save others. And together with humanity, they were making the galaxy a safer place for everyone. The Deathworlders had become exactly what they had always been in their hearts. They had become the galaxy's guardians,